Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today's video will try to exploit runner on HackTheBox. It's a medium difficulty Linux machine. Let's get some information about the machine. So the machine has a vulnerability in TeamCity. Okay, so the vulnerability will allow us to bypass authentication by extracting an API token. That's what we're going to use to get our initial foothold. Then from there we copy or download a database backup from TeamCity that contains user credentials. Okay, then we can use these credentials to pivot our way around the box. And then the privilege escalation has to do with a Portainer instance running on the system, on the box. So this Portainer is like a container as a service, so you don't have to run your own Docker containers. Okay, so you can use this service. And then we realized that the version of runc, which is a runtime for the container, is vulnerable to a CVE. Okay, so the CVE is here. Then we'll follow the CVE and then look at how we can exploit that vulnerability to get root. So it's gonna be interesting and fun. Let's go ahead and see whether we can replicate the steps. Okay, so first of all we copy our IP address and then we'll start our scanning, our port and service scanning. So I'm gonna use RASCAN today. I've been using Nmap. I'm gonna use a combination of RASCAN and Nmap. So RASCAN is a bit faster in determining open ports. So we will pipe the output of our port to Nmap to do the further enumeration of services. Okay, so I'm just gonna start RASCAN and then tag A. So have to put our IP address, and then tag U. This stands for upper limiter. So I think this has to do with how fast you want the scan to go. So I'll specify 1000, and then I'll pipe the result to Nmap. So we'll just use our normal Nmap command stv on. So the output of our Nmap will go to a file called, let's call it Nmap tag runner, and then let's say t4, and I think this should be it. So let's see. Alright, so see that quickly in less than 2 seconds we have the ports coming up. So we have port 22 and then port 80 and then port 8000 running on the system. So these ports are open, and then it's still trying to find other ports. I think that's all. It only found 3 ports on the system, and it's now running Nmap scan. You see the Nmap command here. So it's passed the ports as options to the Nmap, and then the scan is done. So it took like 32 seconds to complete the scan. So we can show our scan result. I think we saved it as Nmap runner. Let's open the scan result and see what we have. So we have 3 ports open: port 22, port 80, and then port 8000. So 22 is our SSH port, and nothing can be done here. I think this is an updated version of OpenSSH. We have port 80 running HTTP, and then we have Nginx server with version 1.18. Let's look at server headers. So we have the server header, which is Nginx, and then we have a title: did not follow redirect to HTTP runner. So this particular domain, it couldn't follow redirect because this is not in our host file. So what we do is let's quickly add that to our host file. So I'm just going to clear my screen, and then I'll do the addition to host file. So I'll use vim st hosts. Okay, I need to provide my password, and then I think I'm in insert mode, and let's add, so 10 10 10, I think 10 10 11 13, and then we can add our host name here, and that should be it. So if we ping runner, I think this should give us the same thing. Yeah, so this is right. So yeah, so what we're gonna do is let's try to probe our port 80 first. So let's go to our web browser and we do http runner.atb, and then we have a website showing. We can go around, poke around the website and see if we have something that we can exploit, if there are any vulnerabilities. But for your information, there's not too much here, just an information about what they offer, the services they offer. So Runner, so they do automation and integration, deployment and pipeline configuration, monitoring and optimization. So this is kind of like a CI/CD kind of stuff that they do. And then okay, they talk about their agile innovators and then whatever. Okay, so come here, transform your code, accelerate your success, and then powered by TeamCity. So here we have to take notes. So this, their CI/CD pipeline is powered by TeamCity. So you can do a quick search about TeamCity and you should see that this is from JetBrains. So they have this TeamCity application that provides CI/CD functionalities. Okay, so let's go back to our site and then see what we can get. Let's just keep going. So we have founder, so we have some names here. All right, this could be important if you want to do username enumeration. We can save this like a username file, and I think that's it. You can try to read the source code, and let's see whether we have other functions. Get a code. So if you say get a code, it takes you to sales. All right, so it will take you to sales at ATB to try to send a mail. So we don't have much here. We can go to about, so and then services. So it's just like a single page application, so everything redirects you to part, a section of the page. So not too much we can do here. So what we have to do is we have two options. We can decide to directory brute force, or we can do a subdomain enumeration. Okay, so a site which is big as this, there's possibility that they may have a subdomain from the main domain. All right, so that's what we're gonna do next. So we have to do our subdomain enumeration. So I'm gonna use ffaf, and then I'll use word list, and then let's say user share checklist. Okay, discovery DNS. So let's see what we can use. What's file? I'll just use the bitquark. Okay, I'll use the first one, bitquark, and then the URL. I'm gonna use http runner.atb, and then what else? I'm gonna specify the headers. So what I want to fast is the host. Okay, so I'm gonna fast this, and then runner.atb, and then I think that should be it. And let's specify threads of 1,000 just to speed it up. Let's see. So we have a lot of noise, and then it has to do, like, we can try to filter the size of 154. So let's clear our screen, and then we'll add a filter size 154. All right, so let's see what we'll get. Okay, so good. So clearly we have a subdomain called TeamCity. Okay, so we can add this to our home, our host file, and let's do that. So I'm just gonna stop this. I think we found what we want. We can leave it scanning for more subdomain, but it's just a single subdomain which we found already as TeamCity. So here, let me go back here. So I'll do sudo vim etc host, and Okay, so I'm gonna add TeamCity.runner.atb. Alright, and I think if everything is right, it should be okay. Okay, so now I can try to access that subdomain. Alright, so let's go to TeamCity. So I'll do http TeamCity.runner.atb. Alright. Okay, so we are greeted with a TeamCity login page. So we need a username and then a password. We can try admin password. It's not going to work, so default credential don't work here. So what we're going to do is, like, looking down, we can see that we have a version of TeamCity. Okay, so TeamCity version 2023-05, and let me see if I can increase the size. Yeah, you can see the version here clearly. Okay, so we're going to copy this version and try to see if we can get any exploit available online about that particular version of TeamCity. So I'm just going to say TeamCity version, and I'll look for exploits from GitHub. Let's see if we have any exploits. Alright, so the first one, that's mostly the results on top will always help. Most of them always work. So let's see. We'll have two exploits. We'll look at them and see how we can use them. So this one has exploit.py, rc.py. So this one can actually let you run the exploit, and then it can give you a RCE, like to be able to execute code. So let's see how the exploit is used. So you just specify the URL and then a username that you want and then a password that you want. Okay, so I think we should be able to use this exploit. Let's copy it and go. So I'm gonna come here and clone. So git clone. I'm gonna clone the repository for the exploit. When I list, I will cd into CVE. Okay, so the exploit is there, and then it has requirements. Let's cut the requirements and see what they want us to install. So add pass and request, I think I have this installed already. If you don't have, you may need to install this requirement. All right, you just do pip3 install, I think r.requirements, I think so. All right, so you see that the requirements are already satisfied, so I don't need that. All right, so what we do next is let's try to run the exploit. Python tray exploits.py without any argument, so it will give us how to use it. So exploit and then username and then password. Okay, and then so we do the same Python, and then the username that we want to specify, I think it's with n, so we have to say n for the username. That's weird. We always know username, they use u, but because they are using u for URL already, so I think that's why. So we use u for our URL, so have http TeamCity.runner.atb. Alright, and then the username that we want to specify, we'll just say admin. Let's say admin123, and then password. What password? So I'll just say tests. Okay, so this is what I want to use. Okay, what have we done wrong? So I think that the URL is no connection adapters. Okay, so what I will do is let me take off the okay, so I just remove the username and password. So probably it might try to create a default for us. Run the command again. So we're gonna run the command again and then see. All right, beautiful. So it's been able to create some username and password for us. All right, so I'm just gonna take some notes. So run notes.txt, and then I'll come back here and copy this information. We have to take notes of this because we will need them later. So run a note. All right, so our username is admin, so it's been able to provide us with the username. We can now go back to our TeamCity. We have a username here, and then the password. This 1 2 3 pass. All right, so let's see. Let's try to log in. And yes, we are lucky. We have been able to log in. So we quickly, like, you can look around to see what you can do, but we know how we are going already. You come to administration, okay, and then you go to backup, and backup scope. So let's go for custom, and then I think I will want to select everything aside the personal boot changes. Okay, and then I can start the backup. All right, so if the backup is done, you can see there's a link here. We just copy this link, and we should be able to download this backup onto our system. So let's use wget and see if we can download the backup. Okay, so I think wget will need us to authenticate, so I'll say username. I think we had the username here. And then password, let's see. Okay, let's check how to authenticate with wget. So wget help, and then grab username. Username and password. Let's search it quickly. Authenticate with wget. Let's see. Okay, so it's user, it's not username. All right, so we're close. So let's try it again. So instead of username, we'll just say user. Okay, right, so it downloaded the file. So we have it here, backup. The backup is there. So I'm just going to create a directory. I'll call it backup, and then should I move it or copy? I'll just move TeamCity into backup. All right, so I'll move into backup and then try to unzip. All right, So unzipping, we can see that we have database dump. Okay, so what we have to do is to go in there and then see the database dump. We have so many files here. So the file that's the database, the table, so these are like list of tables from the database. So we have users, so we can cut users to see what we have. What happened? This users is encrypted, not encrypted, but we don't have permission. Okay, so okay, right, so we just change the permission so that we can have access to the information in users. So let's put it here, and then we can see that we have ID, username, password. So these are the default on the system. So all these are created. I think other HackTheBox users created this. So these are the two how do you call it, the two users that we are interested in. Okay, so we have the admin, who is called John, and then Matthew, called Matthew. Okay, so we can put this in a file and try to crack. So let's do that. Sublime hash, or hashes, I think I should have said hashes. So this is John, this is for the user John, this is for John, and then the other hash, I think is here, is Matthew. Okay, so the other hash is Matthew. Alright, so that's it. We have John and Matthew. We have the hashes, and what we need to do is to crack the hashes. Okay, so I'm gonna use John word lists, and then I'm gonna specify user share word list rock_u, and then hash. Yeah, I think that should be it. And let's wait for it to crack. Just gonna pause this video whilst the cracking takes place. Okay, so it looks like it's taking a long time to crack. I'm sure probably there's something wrong. And when you check here, it says loaded one password. It was supposed to be 2 passwords because I put 2 hashes in the file. So let's see what's happening, what's wrong. So I'll just quit. You see, so after 5 minutes, it didn't come out with anything. Could be normal, but let's see. Alright, so I can see there is some kind of like a white space after the hash. I don't know whether that's the reason, so I'm just gonna clean that up and save, and then I'll go back and start again. Alright, so okay, so now you see that we have two hashes loaded. I'm sure it's gonna be able to crack it now, so I'll pause and then come back when it's done. Okay, welcome back. I think we have a password for Matthew. So Matthew password is Piper123, and I think the other password for John is not gonna crack, so I'll just end it here. Then we can try to see if we can use Matthew's password to log into the system via SSH, which is an open port. Alright, so I'll just copy the credentials. So let's see, let me copy all this. So we have creds, so creds, we've got Matthew, Piper. All right, so the password for Matthew is Piper. So we'll try to do SSH and then let's see SSH Matthew at runner.atb. Say yes, and then we provide a password, which is Piper123. Okay, and it doesn't work. All right, so this is like a rabbit hole. Using Matthew's, the cracked password is not our way in. So we go back to try and enumerate our system. So when we look at the database dump, if we list, we still have, so this is the table. So we go back, like let's go up, and then we have all the dump data here. So we can go into the config file. Is it the config file? Or what we can do is we can try to, let me see if I have 3. Okay, I have 3, and then I'll just see the directory listing of all the files in the folders. All right, so here it will be easy for me to look through and see if there's any juicy file I may want to have a look at. So I'm just going up, because we have so many files, we cannot be going into each folder one by one. All right, so this gives a better visual look. Okay, so when we see here, we see project. When we go into project, all project, we can see ID RSA. So this is like a private key. We don't know whose private key it is, but it is worth taking a look. All right, so I'll just look at the directory structure. So here I'll go into backup, CD, okay, CVE. Okay, I created a backup in here. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll move the backup here, so that if I CD back, I can see the backup. All right, so I'll now enter into the backup folder, and then where do we have projects? Let's see, project is under what? Let's go up. So project is under okay, so project is under config, I think so. So let's go back and then go into config. So we cd into config, and then I think it was projects, and then all projects. All right, so if we do ls here, we see plugin data. So yeah, I think it's in plugin data. So we do cd plugin data, and then we have SSH keys, and then we have our ID RSA. All right, so what I'll do is I'll just copy this file. So cd, so I'll copy it into so this is 1 2 3 4 5 6. I think this should be it. Okay, so what am I copying? I am copying ID RSA. Okay, permission denied. So okay, so I think now I can copy it. All right, it's copied. So I'll just go back to, and then I see ID RSA is here, and I already changed the permission. So what I will do is I would like to log in here with the ID RSA. So if you see the back cd into runner. Okay, so if we do ssh tag I id rsa, all right, but we don't know which users id rsa is. We can find out. Okay, so if we do cat id rsa, it's gonna give us the key, and then it's like a base 64, so we can decode this. Okay, so we can decode the base 64, so we pipe it to base 64 -d, and then okay, so yeah, so if you look at it this way, it's not going to work. So let's see how we can. All right, we need to get rid of this open. So what I will do is I will, when I cut id rsa, I'm going to grep -v and then -I open. All right, so you see that it took off the header and the leader, so the open SSH is taking it off, so we now have only the base 64. So let's clear. So we further pipe it to base 64 tag B, and then I think I'll need to pipe it to strings. Okay, and then I'll just need the tail end of it, so tail, and then the last three. Let me use the last three. All right, so you can see that we have John at runner. So John was the one who was, is the private key is for John, so that's how we can get it. All right, so what I will do is I will now try to SSH with the private key id rsa, and then we just determine that our user is John at runner.atb. Okay, good. So we have been able to get our foothold. We've been able to log in using the private key as John. So if we list here, you can see that our user flag is here, so we can cut our user flag. All right, so we have our user flag. The first part is done. Beautiful. So I'm just gonna say flags user and then root. Okay, so root, we're now gonna look for root. Okay, so we can look for root in two different ways. Actually, if we look at LNTP, all right, we can see the sockets. All right, so it's like these are hosting certain applications. So if we look here, 127.0.0.1. Column 9000, so this one is also hosting another application. So some applications have been listed here. All right, so we can try to see what those applications are, and then this particular application is running a Portainer instance. All right, so we can curl to see if we can access the application. So curl, let's say localhost, what's happening to my machine, localhost, and then 9000. Localhost is the same as 127.0.0.1. all right, so yeah, we can see something here, and then when you read through the text, you can see Portainer over there. If you don't know Portainer, then you can go look it up and see. So this gives us a fair idea, like a web application is running on that port. So the first thing we can do is we can try to just port forward. We can do a local port forwarding using Ligolo or Chisel. All right, I don't know which one I have to do, but also if you enumerate like the nginx config files, you may be able to see another subdomain. So let's try that. So let's see which nginx, just to be sure that nginx is installed, and then let's say nginx tag t. all right, so we want to locate the nginx config file, so it's here. and then we can cut that, or we can use less, just trying to go through the nginx config file. All right, so we are looking for, what are we looking for? We are looking for host configurations. So this is email, the mail. So let's say okay, I think is it here or is it in site enabled? Not so sure. Okay, so I want the site enable. I think that's what we are looking for. If not, if we don't find it here, I'll just do the port forwarding and then we'll take it from there. So let's quit and try to cd in here. Okay, so we have defaults. So these are our sites. We have L are the folders. Okay, so we have Portainer. Let's try to cut this. Okay, so when we cut that, we can see that we have a subdomain. Okay, Portainer administration.runner.htb. Okay, so let's see whether we can access this subdomain if it's configured. So what we do is we go back and add the subdomain to our host file. So we do sudo vim etc hosts. Okay, we're gonna add that here. Okay, and we'll put it here as well, so that's subdomains. All right, so now we can try to access the subdomain and see. So I'm gonna do http and then yes, so we have access. We didn't even do the port forwarding, we didn't do the local port forwarding, but because the subdomain is configured and we found a way to locate it, we have been able to access that instance. Okay, and then we have credentials for Matthew. That's the what we were able to crack. So we'll try Matthew's credentials here and see if it will work. So we have Matthew, username Matthew, and then the password was Piper123. Okay, I think I double copied, so I'm just gonna paste the password here, and then yeah, so we'll be able to log in as Matthew. Okay, so we have an instance running here, and then we see that docker.sock is running. So if we see docker.sock, we assume that the default Docker runtime, which is runc, is also running. Okay, and if we check, if you're able to check the runc version and it's vulnerable, then we can be able to break out of the container. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. So let's go back here, clearing to make space, and then I'll just try to see if we have runc. So runc is there, and then we have runc. We're trying to check the runc version. So we have runc version 1.1.7. Okay, so we'll check this particular runc version. There is an exploit, a known exploit, and then we just have to try and follow the exploit steps to see if we can break out of the container to get root. So we try to search for the exploit, and we have several. So we have rapid7 exploit, which is Metasploit. Okay, and then with Secure Labs, so I think this is also a very good write-up. So I think this with Secure Lab, like you come here, you'll be able to get a technical detail. Okay, so it had to do with leakage of a file descriptor, so it allows you to do arbitrary file read. All right, so if you are able to access this proc self file descriptor, you can change the file descriptor too. So let's see what they did here. So we can have a read of how this works, and then I'm just gonna implement it. I'm gonna show how we can use this exploit. Okay, so our Portainer instance has been opened. So we have images. So we have two images here. So we have TeamCity and then Ubuntu, and then we also have some volumes, but there are no volumes here yet. So what we need to do is to create our own container. So if you check the containers, so there is a container running as test. This was not created by us, so we're going to create our own container. I think someone is working on this. So let's go to the images. So to create a container, you go to the images. Let's open this, and then we copy. And first of all, let's try to create some volumes, because we are going to mount a volume. All right, so we create that. So I'll just say vol1, and the driver is a local driver volume. So because of local driver volume, you have to specify some options here. So I'll specify the O option, which is the address. So I'm just going to say bind, so that it will bind to whatever address it's attached to. And then I'll add another option, type, and then I'll say NFS. Okay, and then the device is going to be root. Okay, I think that should be it. And let's try to create volume. Yeah, so our volume has been successfully created. We call volume 1, and then we go to our images and then our container. So we're going to create a container, and then we'll mount the volume. So we add, so our container, let's call our container ref shell. Just call it ref shell, and then the image, we're gonna add the image ID that we copied from the images. I don't know which image we selected. Let me go back and check which image did we select. CA2 was the image for Ubuntu latest. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so ref shell. Okay, CA2, so yeah, that's it. And then what do we do? And then you have to specify interactive, and then the working directory. So this is where we have to specify proc self, and then the file descriptor, and then we specify 7. So from the write-up, you can see that they are advising that we use file descriptor 7. So if 7 doesn't work, you can change it. Sometimes 7 works, other times 8 works. So we have to cycle between, I think 7, 8, 9. So the allowable values are from 0 to 9, and then the user, want to say the user is root. Okay, and we come here and try to include our volume. Okay, so the volume is going to be the volume that we created here, and then the name of the volume, I'm gonna say ref, so R3V, so ref, or let's say ref shell. Yeah, and then I think I should be able to deploy the container. So let's see whether we will have success in our deployment. So I'm going to pause the video. Okay, so it failed. So there was a failure, we couldn't deploy it. So what we have to do is to go back and check. Okay, so it's like the file descriptor, the 7 didn't work, so we can try 8. Okay, so let's try 8 and then we'll try to deploy again. So I'll pause, and okay, so now our deployment is successful. All right, so ref shell, so just select our container, and then we have a console. So we'll go to the container console, and then we can try to connect. All right, so we have been able to connect. All right, if we do ls, nothing much here, we clear, but when we cd into the root directory and then we do ls, we should be able to see the file that we our drive that we mounted. Okay, so we cd into it and then ref shell. Okay, and then we cd into root, and then when we list, we are able to see the root text, so we just cut our root.txt. all right, so we've been able to get our can I copy from here? Okay, so we have, yeah, so we've been able to copy, so the machine has been pawned. Okay, so this is inside the container, so we can try to actually get a connection from our own system. So what we can do is cd, when I go into the home directory and I list, so cd back, so ref shell home, so when I list, I have 2 users, John and Matthew, so I can cd into John, cd into John's folder. All right, so I'm in John's folder now, so I can copy let's see, ref shell bin, I think I'm looking for bin bash, trying to copy bin bash here. Let's see, copy, yeah, I think I'm already, so I'll just copy, I'll copy bin bash here. All right, so if we list, we see that we have bin bash. Okay, so I can change the mode. I'll make it a suite binary. All right, so if I list again, I can see that it's now suite binary. So we go back to our system. All right, so we see that we have it here, and then what we'll do is I'll just try to run it. As with P, so in a privilege mode, I'll try to run it in privilege mode, and then we are able to have root. So if we do who am I, I'm root, id root. Okay, and we can cut our So we can cd into root, and then when we list, we can cut our root.txt here as well. Okay, yeah, so that's the end of the machine, and then thank you for watching. See you again in another video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy these steps. All right, see you again in another video.